Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everybody to a session of Developer Hours. I've never attended Developer Hours before. This is an event series that we run twice a month, and the series covers new things in WordPress, developer oriented, such as playgrounds, and we try to focus on things that are coming in future press releases as well. So and we're going to have a couple topics related to the upcoming WordPress 6.6 release. This release, if you are familiar, is coming out on July 6th. And I think beta's June 4th. Is that right? So we're getting to the kind of the final run up release. And a lot of the features that will be coming to get finalized. If you're not familiar with 6.6, I'm going to drop the roadmap for 6.6. And it gives you an overview of what's coming in the release. And then I also want to share another around how you can help test WordPress 6.6. One of the biggest things, big release, happens a couple of times a year. More people testing that release and finding bugs or things like that, the better. So here's another link that I encourage you all to take a look at, and it shows you ways that you can help test the release. We're not talking about the release today, but it is important to share that information, and because we always want to be staying up to date with WordPress, especially as developers. Speaking of up to date on being a WordPress developer, we have a really great series on the WordPress developer blog. It's called What's New Developers, aptly named. And once a month, and I'm going to share a link to the recent post, which was for May. And it comes out the June article come out on June 10th, and that will cover things that will be leading up again at 6.6 release. So announcements. My name is Nick Diego. I am a developer relation advocate sponsored by Automatic to WordPress. And joining me is Birgit Polyhack, and she's going to be giving you a presentation on how to build playgrounds. Birgit, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Nick. And yes, my name is Birgit Polyhack. I'm also a developer advocate for WordPress and core contributor, sponsored by Automatic. I'm also the publisher of the Gutenberg Times and the host on the Gutenberg Changelog podcast. And because it's such a great number, we just released episode number 100, and it had some special guests there from NASA who implemented the new NASA website, and I get to ask them all kinds of questions. So yes, check it out, gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. So, but today we are here to talk about Playground, and I have a little slide deck for you. I'm just going to share my screen and walk us through that. The questions, I think it would be good to wait with the questions until the end. It's probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. But feel free to put them into the chat window so you don't forget them. And we tackle them once I'm done with the examples. So I'm going to share the screen. I hope I find it. Okay, share that. But of course, I'm in the middle of here. This is where the slide deck starts. So we're talking about creating WordPress Playground blueprints for testing and demos. So what is Playground? In short, and it doesn't capture all the excitement or so that I have for that tool, but WordPress Playground is a WordPress site in your browser. You don't need a server, you don't need a database, you don't need Apache, you don't need Nginx, you don't need PHP. It's all going to be there in the browser, and you can test WordPress or experience WordPress with it without having to fiddle with all the technology there. How do we use it right now? So you can use it for testing plugins that you haven't have no experience with, and you can load them into Playground, and I'll show you how. You can also test themes without setting up a test site. Then you can also, if you are want to test some PRs from Gutenberg repo or from core track, you can use Playground to do that. Then it would only load that particular feature into the site. There's also a Playground plugin that lets you include a Playground into your site, into a post. So you can share some of that as well with your readers. There's a VS Code extension, which I love, for local development testing. And then you can also do use WP Now as a CLI for local testing. So Playground is the foundation of all of it. And if you want to learn more, you can go to wordpress.org/playground, and you kind of can read through it. And there's a lot more that can be done. But right now, today, we're talking about blueprints and how they. So if you want to test a plugin or a theme, you use the URL playground.wordpress.net / then question mark and then theme Kandinsky Bento, and or question mark plugin equals Gutenberg. So if I click on that link, that is what's happened when you use Playground. It's preparing WordPress, and it's downloading the theme, and then you can see it. And this is now the homepage from the theme. Yeah, and when you go into edit site, you can go to the patterns, for instance, and kind of look at what the patterns are, and can use them and try to integrate them into your pages or posts. So the same with the Gutenberg plugin. And the plugin repo on WordPress.org also provides a feature for the plugin developer to add blueprints to their plugin, so they have a live preview in the directory. So I'm going to, so Nick Jago, you just talked to him, or he talked to you, has on his block visibility plugin also a live preview button. When you click on it, it also loads WordPress Playground, preparing the WordPress, and it takes a minute, or not a minute, a few seconds. And Nick does something else. He lets you get right into the post edit action and shows you about the blocks and how to handle that. So that is pretty cool. You can do something else as well. So I really like that. And then, you could use a blueprint file. And I just wanted to, before we talk about the blueprint, so there's a blueprint gallery. In the blueprint gallery, you can learn how to configure WordPress and PHP versions, load plugin and themes. That's one of the main things that you're going to do anyway. But you can also add an admin notice or dashboard content. You could also add post or page content, use the WP-CLI command and files, and add files to plugins. And when I click on that link down here, we go right to the blueprint gallery. And I'm gonna just have to minimize this here. And there are not many, but quite a few examples there. And when you navigate them, so let's see what a blueprint looks like. So the latest plugin, when we click on view source, you see, this has JSON notation. WordPress uses JSON quite extensively. Yeah, you know about theme JSON, you know about block JSON. So for configuration, and a blueprint is a configuration file for a Playground instance. And that's one example. Another example is what you also can do here in the Playground Blueprints gallery is like a display admin notice. You can open it in Playground, you can view the source, or you can edit, and the edit gets you into a blueprint builder. It's not yet complete, and you see here, that's the admin notice. And when you go into the code example here, you can kind of say, how are you? And run it again. And then you see how that immediately changed. So you can test some of the Playground blueprint examples that are in the gallery and adopt them for your own systems. So we have a JSON, and we also have the Playground gallery with, you can open Playground, view the source, or edit. And then, so the JSON format, there are two sections for a blueprint. One is the configurations, like where does the person who uses the Playground land? What's the page that he ends up? Yeah, we saw in Nick's block visibility, you ended up in the post editor. In others, you end up in the on the homepage. You can also set the preferred versions for PHP and for WordPress. You can say, okay, WordPress 6.4 or WordPress latest or 6.5 or 6.5.4, which is about to come out. And then you can do PHP extension bundles. Right now, there's only one bundle. It's called the kitchen sink. That's for American mostly. The kitchen sink is pretty much where everything comes together. It's a lot of different smaller modules that come with the PHP extensions kitchen sink. And then you can also set the feature of networking true, and we will talk about it in a little bit, what that entails. And then the second part of a blueprint are the steps. Yeah. So a step is install plugin, and then you have the properties for it. Plugin zip file resource is the WordPress plugins repository. The slug would be Gutenberg, and then you have an option to activate it. That's one step, one example of a step. Another step is using WP-CLI, and you use the command that you normally would put into your terminal window, but it's the WP post generate 12 posts from post type, and then with a date. That's what this one does. Yeah, you would use it if you need more than one post in your demo. Or you could use steps, so create a post with the content from a file, assign a featured image to the post. And when we look at it, and it looks then, yeah, there's a featured image and then the post. So when we look at that example in the Blueprint gallery, you will see it's a little bit more evolved than just, so write the file, and that's the future file name, but you take the content from a file that's in GitHub. So when we go down to here, these are the 3 files that are in there. And then via WP-CLI, you can create a post with a title and a status, and then use the content from the previous file to populate the post content. And then you add another file from the repo, that's the image, and then you can say WP media import the particular file, add them to the post, and select your storage method is the title of it, and it's a featured image. So this is kind of going from a very small one to a very elaborate one. So Nick, what do you say? I see the chat, the 17 bubbles. It's a little bit disconcerting? Are there so many questions, or should I just continue?
I've been sharing a link, so most of those bubbles are me.
Okay,
So
cool. Good. Okay, I'll continue then. So, and what I wanted to do, because this is all a little much, I want to walk you through an example step by step to kind of talk about the little intricacies and what you have to, what might be part of a concern there. So I created a blueprint that adds a dashboard widget to the WP admin screen. And that has a link to a playground guide. That's just the title of it. Then I enable pretty permalinks. It's pretty much the post format in a PHP step. And then we import posts that have featured images. But we have a few things to consider there. So first we need to create a plugin that adds a dashboard widget. Yeah, and I only have here in the screenshot the render function, but when you want to look at the entire code, you can go to the GitHub repo where it is. Yeah, so you see here the plugin header, and then add dashboard widget, use the action add widget, and then have the render there. That's pretty much dashboard API 101. So you need that to put into a file, and here it's in the hello dashboard PHP file. And then from there, we create the plugin directory with a step, and there is a make dir step that's from Linux, make a directory, and then we give it a path. WordPress is Playground, WP content plugins. So we add a directory to the plugins directory in that step, and then in the next step, we use the file that we had before, the hello dashboard PHP, and create the file in that plugin directory. And then the fourth step is that we activate the plugin. And this is then in the Playground plugins page, you see hello dashboard. So that's the first thing that we wanted to do.
But before we continue, Birgit, can we?
Yeah.
I wanted to mention the URL, the raw user content,
Yeah.
they used to define. So
I'm going to go back here to the entire code, and so GitHub provides you with a raw.github user content. No, maybe that's not the right place. Raw GitHub user content.com. That lets you on that space, you can integrate anything that's in that space into your Playground blueprint. And then it uses the GitHub username. And then the next one is the repo where everything is housed, and then the branch, and then the file. So when we go back to that repo and look at the blueprint, that is, so the raw, so when I go here at that one, it's always going to be the raw here. Yeah, that's how you get to that link on GitHub. And so this is, if you contain it all on your GitHub repo, it's pretty much guaranteed that it works with the Playground. Did I explain this right?
yeah, absolutely. Because if you use main GitHub link, you'll get what's called error, or it doesn't actually use the raw content. We have a one question from Cheng Wu says, given that Playground runs in a web browser, the should always be in a form of publicly accessible URL like GitHub, right? And I think that is correct. You want to have
Yeah,
your
that's
files
correct.
somewhere that they're accessible via URL.
Yeah, they need to. It's an HTTP request, so it needs to be accessible. Yeah. Okay, so we got the 4 steps with the dashboard plugin. So we have that. It's in the, and then the next one is to make the link. Here, the link is here, href category/playground. That only works when you have the permalink set to post format. Otherwise, you need to do cat equals 2 or something like that. And you never know what category number that would be. So if you do permalink, and that is actually a blueprint gallery example that you can grab it just from there. Yeah, you can view source. And then here, that's the step for it. And you can copy paste it into here it actually also does a plugin, but it's an MU plugin. It's kind of puts the file in the must use plugins. So you don't even have to have a plugin header and these kind of things. So that's that part. The next part is, so that's the dashboard widget that we created with the plugin and with the permalink. And when you click on it, it would go to the category. Now, I also had so I added, can you see that? Okay, yeah. So the next part is that we need to create the content. And I used just a local install, or I think I used a studio install, and added the 3 posts, right? Playground guide 1, 2, and 3, had a featured image. And I also made sure that I had on the post categories, I had the playground category assigned to them. Yeah, so there are three posts to that. And via the tools export, I exported that content and made sure I only used the playground category. And that gave me a file, an XML file. And I could, with an import WXR step, could import that file into a step, a blueprint step, if I wouldn't have any pictures. Then it would work fine, but it wouldn't use the featured image because my local instance, my studio instance, is on my computer. So nothing from outside comes in. So I need to upload the images also to the GitHub repo and then change the references in my export file to handle those. So I also need to set the feature, set the feature to networking equals true, upload the images to GitHub, copy also the raw GitHub user content.com URL per image, and modify the reference. And I do this, I kind of go through the XML file, find the attachment URL, and then replace the link there. That's the only thing that does not go out of the box. You have to touch the XML file. I don't know how else that could work because the export doesn't work like that. Okay, and then we have the import WXR step with the resource that's in URL, and then upload it to GitHub this is then also GitHub user content with the playground guide XML. And the last thing is that every time you have a new instance of Playground and you go into the WP admin, you see the welcome screen. Yeah, and if you make the landings page with question mark welcome equals 0, it doesn't display it. So, and ta-da, that's it. So now we go to the, that's the dashboard, and the link brings us to that Playground. If I didn't watch it, yes, here we are. And then, so this is the widget. When I click on it, I go to the category page, Playground, and here are my posts. And that's pretty nifty, because now you can actually put together, I am going to be working on a place, on a blueprint to have theme demos, have different kind of pages, different kind of templates, and put this all into a theme demo. So that is, oh yeah, that's pretty much it, what I wanted to walk you through. I know you have a ton of questions. Let's do them now. And I can come back with, I think there's one other GitHub, WordPress, not blueprints, but WordPress Playground. That is the repo of the Playground, and there's also the documentation. And we were talking about the Blueprints API. There's quite some documentation there, but here are the steps that are possible, where you can say, okay, activate plugin, activate theme, we did that. CP means copy, define the site URL, enable multi-site, that's certainly interesting for quite a few people, install plugin theme, login, make dir, move, remove a directory, run PHP with options, run SQL site, and all that kind of good stuff. So yes, we'll have a few questions now. I can now look.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
The question was, does it make sense to replace WP-ENV, or I assume any local environment?
Does it make sense to relay? But
Like, does Playground serve a role that you might have used WP-ENV or another local environment before?
so what I use is actually the VS Code, and I like it because when you use local or studio, you always get the full WordPress repo, or the full WordPress software on your machine, and you have to go through the WP content plugins. There's even a localist app public WP dash content plugins, kind of to get to your plugin development section. And I kind of always get lost, and I have probably 15 sites in local, but the VS Code extension knows when you are in a directory and you work on your plugin or you work on your theme, and you click on the button, it loads Playground right from there with your plugin or theme code. So you don't have to tackle all the WordPress files on your machine. So that's I really like it. I don't know if it's better or not. I think it's personal preference. If you have already a workflow around local or those kind of things, I don't think you should change just because it's a new cool toy. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I think I just wanted to add, a lot of times if I wanted to test something, like test a plugin, test WordPress, a new release, like the beta release, or something like that, I would spin up a local environment. Now I just go to playground.wordpress.net, it's there. So I think that there are ways that use Playground to kind of like speed up your workflow. It doesn't replace local development environments, not it for sure. But there are ways that you can use Playground to simplify other things that you might have the effort of creating a local environment for. We have one question, which I don't think we answered to, but I wanted to voice it here. Tricky is it to set up a self-hosted playground? Are there any resources you can share? Do you know offhand, Birgit? I assume that.
You were breaking up in a little. Can you kind of repeat the question again?
Sure. How tricky is set up a self-hosted playground? Are there any resources you can share?
I think that's a question for the Meta-Playground channel in the WordPress Slack. I did not come across that particular use case. And yeah, that's a little bit above my technology understanding of, but what you can do is also, there is on the developer blog, there is a high level explanation what WASM is and WebAssembly that it's based on. So that is definitely a place to start. That's on the developer blog, kind of, was it January or December when we published it. I think it's in the resource list as well. Yeah.
Yeah, by that link. And one thing to note, documentation for Playground is continually getting improved. And I know that is something like Playground, the underlying architecture can be used for all sorts of things. Right now, we've kind of covered how to set up blueprints and that sort of thing. But I fully admit the documentation for how to use the underlying architecture, especially like playgrounds, will get added. Play relatively new, and that's still being worked on.
And I'm right now looking for the VS Code thingy link. Well, I probably could look it up in the VS Code thing.
So while you're doing that, we had another question about Playgrounds looks full once installed in the browser. Is the WordPress installation still available? And the answer is users you can still, once you load up WordPress in a Playground instance, users add new posts, do all the things you do in WordPress, just in the browser with everything that your blueprint provides. So if your blueprint installed the theme, if your blueprint installed a plugin, it's all there. People can interact, play with it, do whatever they want. Normal WordPress.
Exactly. The only thing that is not working yet, unless you enable the network feature, is installing additional plugins from the Playground space. So first I have the VS Code link, VS Code extension. And then, so when I share my screen, just one more time. Oops. So, oops. I'm kind of lost right now on my computer, but that's okay. So if I go to playground.wordpress.net and log in, and go to my dashboard and go to plugins, and I add a new plugin, I get a notification here that network access needs to be enabled. And you can do this right there from the settings point. And here you need to check this and apply the changes. It reloads it, so don't make any other changes. And then you can go and plugins and install additional plugins if you're already in there, like Gutenberg. Oops. It's a little slower than normal. Okay, where is it? Featured, no, popular, no. You have to write it. Install it. Yeah, so that is one thing. The same with themes. So you need to have that network feature enabled. What you also can do is kind of change your storage type. So out of the box, Playground is ephemeral. You close the browser, you reload the page, or the tab. You reload the tab. Or you get out of the tab. Everything is gone that you did there. But you can store things either in the browser or on your device, so that you don't have to. You can read through that, but you will have a local directory, or you store it in the browser's local storage. So the thing that you do won't be lost. Other questions?
We have another one that says, if I create a website, can I compile the way into a Playground library, which I assume similar to like you take a website and compile that into I would just Playground blueprint. And I think the answer is not correct. You have to kind of make them build the blueprint out yourself. Is that correct, Birgit?
Well, there is a feature where you can, if you have it in GitHub, have the whole website in GitHub, you can load it from GitHub into Playground. But yeah, a blueprint is probably the better way to do this at one point. It depends on what your use case. There is another, I'm gonna go and share my screen again. Because here on the on this hamburger, you can actually download a zip and restore from zip. So if you have the website in a zip file, you can kind of restore it in Playground from the zip file or import from GitHub. These are experimental features, I have to say. They sometimes are a little bit finicky, but the more you test them, the better they become if you add some issues to the Playground GitHub repo. But those, yeah, these are the features that kind of work with additional import and export.
Yeah, and I think I do want to stress that Plug can do a ton of things right now, but the map of where Playground is going, what it could do in the future, is also really massive. So part of this today is to hopefully get more folks like yourselves try it and use it. And if you do find it, or you do find things that you want to see, we strongly encourage you to open issues for those. I'll post the GitHub link where you can do that.
Yeah. And if you have ideas or you want to share your blueprints that were successful, and you can share them with a blueprint gallery. There are contributor guidelines there, and then you can, other people can use it too. So that would be really fantastic if you have played around with it.
All right, we're getting a Chengwu share that they're getting an error. So I'll try and replicate that after, and we'll open an issue for it.
Did you do the browser storage or?
It looked like we're getting an issue with the storage, enabling the storage stuff. So, but thank you for sharing that error, and we'll get that logged.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks for testing it out.
Absolutely. We still have about 20 minutes. I'm happy to share that Bleeding Edge example. If
Yeah.
Up to you, Birgit.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I apologize everybody for my voice. I feel better now.
Nobody hears it.
But
You sound fine.
um so this idea stems from develop block themes and allowing people to help with developing a block theme without actually having a development environment, without actually any code, without really just Playground and the create block theme plugin. So what I'm going to do, and again, this is bleeding edge Playground, and as we move forward, become more routine. So talked about ways that you can use Playground to automatically update documentation in a no-code way. There's a lot of interesting things around this concept. So let me just show it to you, and then we'll kind of talk through it. Hopefully this gives you an idea of maybe in the future. All right, I'm going to share wherever that is. Why can I not find this? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. You should see just you should see nothing.
Yes, that's what we see.
Perfect. So I have a theme that I hang around with, and I bring that over to it in a second. The theme is not the theme is not what we're looking at here, but it is called Nautilus. And what I've done is there's a link here that says edit in Playground. When I click this, I'm in Playground, and you see that it's doing a bunch of stuff in the URL, and it's asking me to connect my GitHub. So you need to have a GitHub account for this to work, but we connect our GitHub account. It's authorizing, then it's installing everything. This is all powered by print. Now, this is the homepage template. It's horrible. But this is what we're going to do here. I'll explain how it works under the hood in a second. Over here is we're going to go into the footer. Obviously, it's not 2022. I haven't updated this theme time. So we'll make it 2024. We're going to save. Now, I have the Create Block Theme plugin installed. And what the Create Block Theme plugin does is allows you to write changes to the actual themes. So you can do save changes theme. And I didn't, the only change was the templates, the footer template. So we're gonna do save template changes. That. Okay. So now that's been under the in my Playground as if it was in WordPress, sent to the database. Sorry, it saved it to the database and then it saved it to the theme files. Now in Playground, Birgit showed a minute ago, these options to export pull request to GitHub. Now URL is telling Playground where to export the pull request. We'll look at that in a second. But when I export pull request, it pulls up this dialog and it says, I'm exporting a theme. The theme is Nautilus. It looks for all the themes available on your WordPress install. I want my pull request to target this repository, create a new PR, and the path, the repository, you can define a path repository, but the repository is the whole theme. So we don't need a path. And then there's a commit message. Already added an issue to allow draft PR. And then it would be nice if you find the PR title here. Again, this is all very much in development. When we create pull request, this creating a pull request to my GitHub. So it comes up and that says, here's your pull request. And I click on the pull request. And over here, and it says, and I could, it's a title if I want. But if we look at the files change, you can see that it's updating this. And we have now 2024. Now, the way that the template is updated, this is handled create block theme. So the create block theme is also getting a lot of updates. That's being developed its own thing. Playground is just handling the connection between repo and the Playground instance. So if you have a problem with like the PR that it creates, that should be logged in the create block theme. But we have the updates. And what we're going to do is we're just going to merge this live. So we're going to this pull request. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the code. So you can imagine if you are if you want to be a contributor to this theme, you did not have to have a local. All you needed was a GitHub account. All you needed. So, but now if we do it in edit Nautilus and Playground, we connect. This is a new Playground instance. And it has 2024. So this is a new instance because it's pulling from the latest changes in the GitHub repo. So every time a PR is merged, whenever they click that button, it will be the latest instance. So this is really interesting because you could imagine when the 2025 default WordPress theme is being developed, there are some, traditionally you need to have an environment, you need to understand the code behind, but this provides a super easy way, low code or even no code contributor to contribute to a project. Because what you're doing is you're using the editor as it's intended, you're making your theme, and then when you're ready to commit those changes, you just do the export request. This flow is definitely going to be improved in the future, but it does work now. Let me just talk you through how it works. Back to the repo. So this is all handled using two things. First, we need print. And this blueprint does some silly things. Like it sets the title, the blog name to Nautilus, sets the admin color to modern because I like the modern theme or the admin color. But where the happens is here. So we're installing from a URL. I'm going to talk this proxy in a second. Or we're installed from the repo. Then, if you're familiar with, if I was to look at the main repo, this is the main branch. So if you're to go here and you download a zip, just do it. It says downloads Nautilus main. So the zip isn't just nautilus.zip, it's Nautilus main. And if I unzip this, the folder is called Nautilus main. That's a bit of a problem when you deal with themes. So all we're doing here, if this looks complicated, is when I do this install themes, it actually installs the theme in Nautilus main. Here what I'm doing is I'm moving content from Nautilus main to Nautilus, which is what you want it to be. And then we're activating the theme and installing that create block theme plugin. I envision this step being simplified in the future, but it's just a way that we have to do it because GitHub handles zip create. So the key part about, so Birgit showed us that raw user content DOM example, and we could do that. We could create a zip for the theme and then pull that zip in and from that. Well, what I want to do here, because I want to every time you click on this link, I want to pull from the latest trunk or main branch. I need to use proxy so that you get around that CORS error that we kind of alluded before. So this proxy, where am I? Sorry. This proxy currently, it lives in its place and it's here. This will not stay here. This is like a temporary thing to try to get it working, get it date, but it will eventually be moved to a future home where it will live. So again, this is unbelievably experimental and like bleeding edge, but I wanted to it literally shows like what Playground could do. But what this proxy does is it always pulls from the main. Well, we can define what brand pull it from, but when I have my blueprint, this is saying is pull down the latest zip from the main branch, then install that zip. So that's all it's doing there. It's a temporary thing. Eventually move to a place, but you need this proxy. You can't get the zip from GitHub directly without getting CORS errors. Oh, it sounds very complicated, and in the future this will all be out.
Yeah.
But right now it works. Yep, go for it.
So just for those who don't know what CORS is, it's CORS cross-origin resource sharing. That is kind of resource sharing from one website, from one domain to the other. And it's you need a HTTP header on the server to kind of make this available. I also have, so this is really cool, Nick, and I am in the background. So there are a few theme developers who use that exact process. And I'm putting together a hallway hangout to just demonstrate it and kind of discuss it in a little bit more detail. So if you join the outreach channel, you will know about the when we announce it, or we announce it on Core. I also promised you a link to the developer blog about exploring the future of web development with WebAssembly and PHP for the person who asked about the local instance, to kind of get a little bit deeper in the technology. So yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for showing that, Nick. That's really awesome. Well, we have 6 more minutes. If you don't have any more questions, well, we'll answer at least 3 more questions if you want to. We have also other developer hours come. Do we have them already scheduled? Developer hours?
Then they are not scheduled. They're a little delayed due to my illness here, but they're going to be about synced pattern guides, which is coming in 6.6, which is really, and then another one about styles and variations. So that's a 2 kind of news coming in 6.6. The first one will be on, bear with me, June 11th. Double checking. We always do these on Tuesday, so it's going to be June 11th, and the second one is going to be on June 25th. So bookmark those, but if you're in the group, you'll get notifications from both.
Right. Yes. Excellent. And yeah, there's and I also kind of put that hallway hangout together for the theme process, but there will also be a hallway hangout demonstrating the grid layouts and what it means for theme developers and site builders. That will also be around the release, maybe even next week, but yeah, so that's it. If we don't have any more questions, thank you all for being here, and well, you're all welcome. So there's one question for Nick, off topic.
Oh man, just throwing in the hot question at the end here. Are there plans to build in block editor the ability to customize responsiveness, at least how it's in the element? That's above my pay grade. No, I think that we have an article on intrinsic design. I know we all know that responsive functionality is probably at the top of requested features. And it's a question of how to holistically, how do we do that? So it's future, how do we do it? So it's an intuitive setup for users who maybe not really understand response design, or, you know, even what breakpoints are. So again, that's a big question. I don't have an answer personally. There are 30 solutions out there, like custom block layers or even dedicated plugins that add responsive controls that you can do. But as far as core goes, unfortunately, I don't have an answer.
But the grid layout that are coming to Gutenberg and to WordPress 6.6 get you a little bit further to having responsiveness outside out of the box with the grid layout. So that is actually really cool in the fluid typography. So yeah, I think the idea is to push intrinsic design as far as possible, and then see what's left and put that in. So yes, absolutely right what Nick said. It's one of the big features requested, but also it's people are working on it quite a bit. All right.
One more thing I wanted to add before we sign off. If anybody in this room is a plugin developer and you have a plugin on WordPress.org, I strongly encourage you to enable the live preview functionality. There is a document in the handbook on how to do that, how to add print to your SVN repository for your plugin. If you run into problems that with the current setup prevent you from doing it, please let us know, because the goal is to have every plugin in the repository live preview. It makes much better users. They can test out the plugin, they can explore. So please try and explore adding a blueprint to your plugin. And if you run into an issue, let an I know or open an issue in the Playground repository, because the goal is so nothing should prevent plugin developer from creating live preview. So just a humble request.
All right.
All right. Well,
all right. Well, thank you so much. And we are stopped on the minute. Thank you, Nick, for facilitating it all. And thank you all for your great question. It was wonderful to be with you all and talk you through it. Bye-bye.
See you on the next one.